Hello, and welcome to the very first VELUX EHF Champions League expert hangout of the new season. We've got a star-studded lineup today with four of the journalists and experts that you know very well, and one very special guest. Before we go into the journalists and introduce them, those of you who are looking forward to seeing Kim Andersson, he will be here in about 10 or 15 minutes. He's just finishing up training with Ystad, his new team, and then he'll join us. So let's start with our journalists then. First up, from Hungary, we've got Bence Martha, who'll be here representing, I guess, Veszprém and Pick-Szeged. Hi, Bence.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Bjorn Katzen, who will be representing the three German teams in the Champions League. Hello, Bjorn.
Hi.
We've got Peter Brun, who I guess will attribute the four Scandinavian teams to. Hello, Peter.
Hello, and I'll do my best about the Scandinavians.
And that leaves the other 19 teams to the neutral Tom O'Branigan. Hello, Tom.
You good, Chris? Come as a thought to.
I'll make him on, Tom. Agus to fame.
Come on.
And that's the only way we'll hear for the rest of this year. So let's get started, I guess. It's been a huge summer full of transfer news, and I guess that's the best way to start. I'll ask all of you to give me your biggest summer story, and I'll ask Bjorn to go first. Bjorn.
Of course, the biggest summer stories was the family reunion of the Karabatic, Sedarusic in Paris, and that finally Barcelona managed to sign Filip Isha for their squad. And we have to see what will happen there. So for me, this was the biggest news in this summer.
And Tom, what about you?
Well, Bjorn's left us nothing to talk about. It's typical. You go to the German first, and he gives you every single transfer story of the thing. Sedarusic for me, because you asked us what was the biggest, and I think that for Paris, even though they got Karabatic, having a coach of his quality there and his knowledge will be huge for Paris.
And I mean, these transfers that Paris have made. I mean, last year, Tom, you said at the beginning of the season that based on transfers alone that Paris would be a Final Four contender and would be up there for the title. These transfers are arguably or almost obviously much better or bigger. And where does that put them, do you think?
Well, I mean, last year I did have them going to the Final Four. The problem, of course, was they met Veszprém, who was another team that had done really well in the transfer market. I mean, where we stand right now at the moment, I think that themselves and Veszprém are a shoo-in. As long as they don't meet each other, they're a shoo-in for the Final Four and probably the final.
Ben, so that's music to your ears, saying that Veszprém are a shoo-in to the final. You usually don't agree with a lot of what Tom says. What do you say about this?
Yeah, I don't want to claim that Veszprém's going to win this year because Tom's going to shut me out immediately. So I must say that yes, but when we come back to talk more about Veszprém, I will have some objections as usual.
Okay.
But I don't want to repeat what the guy said before me. So I would say that the biggest story of the summer was Barcelona building a wall that is, almost impossible to shoot out a wall. So with Filip Isha, Michael Kopjar, and Srichak from Orlen, this is going to be. I think Barcelona is still the team to beat this year.
Okay, and how about you, Peter? What story besides the stories that the guys have been repeating? How would you define this summer?
Well, one of the biggest stories, or one of the things that surprised me most, actually did not happen in summer, but still a relatively pre-season, and that was the fact that neither Barcelona nor Veszprém were able to defeat Futsal Berlin at the Super Club, and that a team outside the Champions League managed to win that tournament. Maybe Barcelona or Veszprém did not give that tournament a lot of priority, and of course in Barcelona's case it takes time to integrate even a great star as Filip Isha. But still, I was a bit surprised by that. About the transfer news, I can't really add much to what has already been said. The big ones was, of course, Karabatic joining Paris and Isha joining Barcelona, and I would like to add also Nazarov joining Vardar. in a smaller scale, and we may come back to that when we're going to talk about the Scandinavian teams, Eko joining Colin, filling out the gap after Kim Andersson, and that will be interesting to see how it's going to do that.
Absolutely. And a question to, I guess, all of you. Peter brought it up there about the Super Globe. And I know this is a pre-season chat, but how much can we really attribute to events like the Super Globe and the Super Cups in each nation and these pre-season friendlies? I mean, how much does that really tell us about what's coming up?
Usually, I don't put much weight on all those pre-season test matches, and maybe the Super Cups in the respective countries to a certain extent, because there's a lot of prestige in those, and they are usually played so close to the start of the league. So I think we can put some more weight on those. The Super Globe, well, it's a bit surprising this season the way it turned out, or much surprising, I would say, with the outcome. I can't really say how much priority teams like Barcelona and West Brom have given that tournament. I watched the final in particular, and I would say I'm sure, and I know that West Brom can play much better than they did in that final. So maybe we should not put that much weight on the Super Globe as we might have done in previous years. I don't think it gives much of an indication of how the Champions League is turn out anyway. We can't get around to mentioning Barcelona and West Brom among the favorites anyhow.
Chris, I think that, by the way, we should say, welcome, Mr. Andersson.
Exactly. I didn't want to cut across.
You have to, listen, when a big star like Kim walks in, you cut across anybody.
Okay. Well, I'll know for next time. Well, now, hello, Kim.
No,
welcome to the Hangout.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks, I'm fine. How about you guys?
Very good, Kim. It's good to see you. Chris, this is a good question to ask Kim as a former professional player. No, as a professional player. Sorry, Kim. Ask him what exactly it means in pre-season. I mean, what is a team thinking in terms of peaking for something like the Champions League?
That's a good
No,
question.
I didn't catch you at all. I just heard some few words, so it's difficult to answer your question.
I'll try to translate for you, Kim. The guys were just talking about pre-season there, and I was asking how much can you really attribute pre-season to what's going to come ahead? I mean, we have all of these pre-season matches, we have Super Cups, but how much does that actually mean once the season begins?
I think that every game you play, you want to win. So then, of course, it depends how hard you've been training and everything. But I think when you go up against a great team, for example, if you talk about Super Globe now that was finished here 1 week ago or something, I mean, I don't think that Barcelona goes to Qatar to lose some games, and also not the West Brom, and now Berlin won both those games. So, I mean, of course, it's a pre-season game, but I know that I hate to lose, and it doesn't matter if it's a training game or it's a Final Four game. So, I mean, maybe you can't say, okay, they're going to win because Berlin, they did 2 great games. Maybe Barcelona didn't play that well, but I think it shows where you are and where you stand right now. I think that shows that Barcelona and West Brom have some things to improve for the season that is ahead of them. So,
Chris, I think if you look at last season for Barcelona, it wasn't until after January that we really saw a team that was going to win. You know, you could see that they were going to win the Champions League. If you look across all the teams so far, Paris Saint-Germain, of all the new teams that have been put together, have looked the better of anybody that I've seen.
But I mean, well, we were talking about it, and you said Barcelona, they really took their time to look like a big team. But this new system of the Champions League, and when you look at groups A and B, it doesn't give teams a lot of time to get into top form before they face big teams. And I guess, Bjorn, I'll go on to you and ask you, what are your thoughts on the new playing system in the Champions League?
Yeah, the playing system, of course, it offers every Saturday, it offers a top match in the groups A and B. And I believe that this playing system is an advantage for teams like Barcelona, like Kielce, like West Brom, because they don't have that tough opponents in the league. West Brom have some matches in the ZEA League, but Kielce or Barcelona, they have no opponents in the domestic competition, so they can play with their B team or their second team in the national competitions. and save the power of the stars for the Champions League. In Germany, for example, you cannot play with the second team in any match in Bundesliga. Kim definitely will agree with this, because otherwise you will lose. And so I believe this playing system really in the group phase is an advantage for teams like West Brom and Barcelona to win the group. Paris Saint-Germain, they have a big squad, so they can change a little bit for the domestic matches. But also they only have 3-4 matches per season where they really have to go 100%. So in general, the playing system is great for those fans who can watch all the matches, because you see matches you usually see in quarterfinals every week in the group phase.
What's the feeling in West Brom and in Hungary in general there, Bence, about the new format?
I think most supporters will agree with what's been said about this format. There are a lot of there are more sharp games to play, and you know, in West Brom it's a celebration when there's a game. So there are a lot of important games to be played week by week, and this is a good thing. Although the Champions League is, I think, a little stronger than most of you think. There are a couple of good teams that also play in the Champions League. So for West Brom, I think it's a good thing, but it's better for example, for the Polish teams who only have to play each other. I mean, Block and Kielce have to play. But also, I don't know what it is like for the German teams who have the entire Bundesliga to compete with. Plus, now they have a different format for the competition that they enter. So I think it's difficult for them, but it's entirely good for the sport and good for the European handball.
And Kim, you're looking from the outside in, and as a former player of the Bundesliga, what are your thoughts as a player on the format?
As a player, I think it's just perfect the way that the Champions League is going to be played this year, because, like they all say, it's great games. Every week you have a really tough opponent. You don't play teams that everyone expects you win 10, 15 goals. I mean, now, for example, for the Swedish team, Kristianstad, they will go up against my old team from Denmark already on Wednesday. And I mean, there is a lot of really fantastic games already in the group phase. So I mean, it's going to be really interesting to follow it from a side. So it's for me as a handball fan, it's great.
And Tom, you have a blog on this particular subject coming up very soon. Would you like to give a sneak peek into your thoughts?
Absolutely not, Chris. I don't like to, give out Christmas presents before Santa has come. But what I will say is that I think now nobody has an excuse for an empty stadium. I'm sure Kim would remember if Kiel was playing against a smaller team. You won't get the 10,500 because the team knows you're going to win by 15, 20 goals. That's already been said. Now I'm sure that particularly the German teams that have struggled somewhat in the Champions League to promote it, in terms of it being a big competition that can stand alongside Bundesliga, it's huge. And then when you look further beyond, the boys have already mentioned Poland, and then of course Barcelona, who have really struggled to get anybody in their stadium unless it was a last 8 game against a really big opponent. I think this can only help. My worry is that where are we have 16 teams in the first 2 groups. My question is, are they all of the same level? We know that we have 10 that maybe can give each other a great game. But then what happens next year? Will the fans still want to see those games again between the same teams? That's my only worry, but I'm willing to wait and see. That's my big thing. I'm willing to wait and see how it pans out.
Yeah, I guess time will tell. We have to wait and see. Peter, would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely, and I think we should give the system a chance. First, see how it works this season before we start speculating what might be the consequences and the prospects for the coming season. And then again, who says that it will be the same teams in the same 2 groups against next year? We may again have some transfers during next summer, which made change the power balance, so to speak, among the top teams again. So let's see what the future brings, and just for the time being, let's see how this system gets implemented and how it works, how it will be received by the spectators who we're all going to live on.
Exactly, and I guess on that note, we should delve into the groups. Let's have a look at Group A first, and a team close to Kim Andersson's heart. We'll start with THW Kiel. They've lost a lot of players over the summer. Many people speculate that they haven't covered completely. They haven't brought people in to cover their losses. How do you feel about your former team at the moment?
It's difficult to say. Like you say, they have lost a lot of very important players. I mean, Filip Isha in the last second, and Aron Palmason, also two very important playmakers for Kiel. But I think, and I hope that maybe this will give the chance for Duvniak and Kaneas to show what great players they are. I mean, maybe they need the security to know that they are the main players and they are supposed to win the games. I mean, if you look at all the players who are representing Kiel, it's still one of the best teams in the world. I mean, it's only names you know of and the players that have been playing a long time on international stage. So of course, there is always some question marks, and you don't know how are they standing and how will they play this year. Of course, it will maybe take some time before they find the rhythm and everything in their game. And I mean, it's THW Kiel, and they have always been there, and it's, like you say, it's a team close to my heart. So of course I'm cheering for them, and I hope that they will do a good tournament. But I'm sure that they will still be one of the top teams comes around.
Chris, I think first of all, before we go on, I just want to say, because I never got a chance to say it to Kim, he was absolutely brilliant in the 2012 final. I mean, I think he was at the peak of his powers. Kim, you were amazing, I have to say.
Thanks. 3 years later.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time. We haven't seen you that much. Now, but Chris, I think that it's a very valid point that he says. And one thing that I will say about Alfred Gieslas, he's brought in Gissinger, who we all remember from Cadetten, then he had the bad knee injury. But you have to remember, this was a boy that Atletico Madrid, with talent, was chasing around that time. So he's got a lot of potential. And when you look at what Alfred has achieved with Paddy Wiencheck on the line, I mean, he's turned him into one of the best line players in the world. And this is a guy who came 2 years ago, no one had heard of him, you know, except maybe Bjorn. And you sort of say to yourself, give Gissinger a chance. The difficulty, I think, for Kiel this season will be in terms of how fit they can keep their players. And this brings up Bence's point about the Bundesliga. Because of all the squads, they look one of the smaller.
Yeah. I mean, Bjorn, you're a man in the inside in Germany. How are they doing so far in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, when just try to compare a little bit when we talk about Kiel, also in this group is Flensburg, and both teams and Rhein-Neckar Löwen are supposed to top the ranking in Bundesliga again. So, but a lot of experts before this season said that Flensburg, in terms of squad, and mainly in terms of the backcourt access, can be stronger than Kiel. So I absolutely agree with Kim that THW is still THW. So they know how to win. They have Alfred as a coach. They signed Niklas Landin to improve in the goalkeeper position. Also, Palika was not that bad end of last season. So I expect that they can make it to the quarterfinals, but then it depends, and then we're back in the group phase now. It depends on the ranking of the group phase which they achieve, and the ranking of the group phase definitely is imprinted by how hard it is to play Champions League and Bundesliga in parallel.
Okay. Bence, does this talk give you and Veszprem fans and the Veszprem players hope that they'll top the group and go automatically through to the quarterfinals?
Well, Veszprem have a tendency to win the group, even ahead of THW Kiel, as you may remember. But now, well, I don't think that too many fans in Veszprem consider Kiel to be the team to beat to win the group this year. I think, although I understand what the other guy said, I think the trio of Vuyin, Kaneas, and Duvniak are still one of the best in the world, but the squad is not as strong as it was last year and 2 years ago, and it's not what we come from THW Kiel. So it's just too much change for 1 year. So I think they will drop, and I agree with Björn. I don't think that this team is ready to reach the Final Four this year.
Okay. I did not say it. I just said that they go to the quarterfinal, and then depends on which team they will come.
Well, let's save those predictions for the end, shall we? I guess what you're kind of saying then, Bence, is that if Kiel aren't the team to look out for, then PSG are.
And you're very clever, Chris. Well, quick.
I'm not sitting here for no reason, Tom. Peter, Peter hasn't chimed in yet on Group A. What are your thoughts? Let's ask you about PSG.
Well, logically speaking, and based on the squads that teams have, it's obvious to see PSG and West Brom as the two teams who are likely to finish top in this group. And I agree with what has been said about Kiel, who simply don't replace a player like Philippe Ischa overnight, or even over a month, or over 6 months. Of course, that will be felt in Kiel that he is gone. We've already seen it in several Bundesliga matches that it's heartfelt that he has gone. It gives, as it has always also been said, the chance to, or maybe a bigger chance to perform for players such as Canelli and Dumjak, but those will also have to carry quite a lot of weight, considering the fact that there will be the Bundesliga as well as the Champions League. And we have to bear in mind that the Champions League program, the Champions League schedule will be tougher this season because there are simply more matches. There are 2 match days more in the group phase because we are now playing 8 team groups instead of 6 team groups, which we did until last season. So the teams with the bosses, with the deepest squads, with the deepest rosters will of course have the advantage, the edge here. Not necessarily the teams with the strongest starting lineup, but the teams with the longest benches. And here I also see a certain edge for PSG and for West Brom. So if you ask me to predict the 2 top teams in Group A, the 2 teams who will go directly to the quarterfinals, it will be those 2 teams who will then get an extra advantage by that.
Chris, it's very interesting. I was speaking to Alfred just before the news was broken about Ika, which everybody seemed to know. And he said it really comes at a bad time. I mean, with Palmerston, they knew he was going for a year. Kim will understand. Kiel always seems to have this kind of, the person is ready to replace you. They may be there a year learning. When Marcus Allen was going, they'd already brought in Tough Tats. They learned the ropes. They learned how to play for that big club. But with Yika, it was kind of, the carpet was stripped from underneath them. And you could see that Yika in the last season was really struggling with the amount of matches and with injury. He just didn't look the same player. And maybe he needs the ride of the Handball League. But when he looked around Europe, I think that Alfred found there was, where are the quality half-backs? They're not there. They might be there in the next 2 or 3 years, but they're not there at the moment,
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, the lack of time has really done them in, so to speak. I just want to take the chance to say, if you're on Twitter, please send us a tweet, any question or comment you have for our panel or for Kim, at EHFCL. We've got plenty already. And I'm just going to throw this question out from Red Gold Lion. I think he or she is a Rhein-Neckar Löwen fan. They're asking, who's the dark horse for this year? Could we find it in Group A, Bjorn?
I would say there's a point when we come to the end how many teams realistically can qualify for the Final Four. So some will say 8, some say 10. So the dark horse, I think it is the dark horse since 2 years. Everybody's talking about Vardar Skopje as the dark horse, but also in Group B, especially as this question is raised from Rhein-Neckar Löwen, that it can be the dark horse rather from Group B than from Group A. So from Group B, everybody expects Barcelona to be on top, and then Kielce, Vardar, Löwen nearly on an equal level. And yes, so there are more dark horses in the parallel group.
Okay, so we'll stick to Group A for the moment then. I'll ask you all very quickly, who is going to win Group A and go straight through to the quarterfinals? Benza, one word.
I can't say. I'm sorry.
Bjorn?
Paris.
Kim?
I'll go with Björn, Paris.
Okay, Peter?
Vesprem.
And Tomer Brannigan is probably going to say Besiktas.
Yeah, I was thinking about Besiktas, but I really don't even know why they're in Group A. Sorry, Besiktas. No, I'm kidding. No, that's a terrible thing to say. I will go Paris.
Okay. Let's quickly look down the lower end, because it's not just about winning the group, but all the way down to 6th place, there is a spot in the last 16. And I'm going to, well, who do we, as you say, Tom, Besiktas, they could be in trouble. Who else will miss out, do you think?
It will be either Celje or Zagreb will miss out.
Okay, two of the youngest teams. Anyone want to pick one?
I'll say Celje.
Okay.
I would also say Celje.
Okay.
Besiktas, Celje.
Oh, that's pretty straightforward then, I think. Let's move on to Group B then.
By the way, can I just because we haven't mentioned Flensburg, which they have made. I mean, Vranjes has been very clever because he signed an awful lot of players, because he obviously realizes I need a squad, and of the 3 German teams, he's after signing the most players, good quality players, I might add, but all very, very similar. Apart from Djordjic on the left back, who doesn't seem to have played so much this season, they're still relying very much on Glandorf, who suffered that terrible injury last season. And so, but they're still playing. I love the style they play, but they don't have those big jump shooters. You know, they play the ball through. Look at who they've signed. You know, Mahe, Lauga. They're not big monster jump shooters. I just think that it might play against them. I think their squad will last longer than last season, but it might play against them that they haven't gone for an out-and-out jump shooter that they might need for a plan B.
Bjorn, squad problems with Flensburg seem to be a typical issue every year. How do you think, like Tom said, how do you think that will play this year?
I saw them once in the Super Cup against Kiel, and it was very interesting to see how Vranjes switches on the center-back position. And in case you play like this with Mogensen or Mahe on this position, Mahe coming from the wing to the center, and Mogensen going on the left back, and with such a high speed, you can destroy the defense without shooting from 30 meters. They are one-to-one actions. They're very good, and at the line they now have Top Tansen, who is doing a really good job. So I expect really that Flensburg, of course, sometimes you need a shooter like Marco Coppola with 2 meters 13 or something like this. But in the way Flensburg plays, they have Glandorf on the right back position, and we have to see what Djordjic, how he develops. He has also a long-term injury, and he made some good games in the past, and he can be one of those jump shooters. And of course, on the right back they still have Johan Jakobsen. No, Jakob Johansson, Johan Jakobsen. Yes, Kim can help me. Yeah, and yes, there's still a smaller replacement for Glandorf. So, but I guess the way Flensburg plays, they don't need those big shooters.
How do you see them finishing this group?
Bundesliga game between the two teams, and for me, Kiel didn't really have a chance against Flensburg. It was the game wasn't open really. Flensburg.
It was match 2. Match 1 was won by Kiel.
Yeah, I'm not talking about I'm talking about the regular season game, not the Super Cup.
Yeah, but Benze, in the same league they lost to Melsungen by 1. You know, Flensburg is not the finished article either. You know, they don't. I love the way they play. Kim, would you agree? They play a lovely style of handball, but they maybe need a plan B. You know, they need a big guy that's able to, and not just Glandorf, because we don't know how long that leg might last.
No, sorry, I didn't know if it was a question from Tom, but of course they have all been, or Björn is talking about Djordjic, is maybe one of the hardest shooters in the world. He shoots like a horse. I mean, when he hits the day, he can score from 15 goals from the cafeteria if he wants to. So I mean, that's of course some power that they haven't been using yet. I've seen some games with Flensburg. They have been playing like Björn also said. They are playing a very fast game. I mean, with Glandorf, who is totally kamikaze between 1 and 2, and you have Mogensen and also Lauge. Those two are two players who are playing really a lot for the team. And I mean, with Matthias in goal, I mean, they showed it the latest game against Kiel, how important he is with the two wings who can just run and they know the ball will end up in the end zone. So I mean, that's the weapon, and it's a little weapon that they have with the two really good wings. I mean, they score sometimes from 30 centimeters, and sometimes they just run and get the passes. So I mean, it's a team that doesn't need, like you say, the shooters that can shoot from 15 meters. But sometimes it's necessary to have some shooters that can lure the defense a little bit outside the 9-meter comfort zone.
I think there's a lot we haven't seen from Flensburg yet of the potential that they actually have. And here we have again to remember that it takes time to make a new team click. They have got several new players they have to get adjusted to the team. They haven't impressed me so far in the Bundesliga apart from their win against Kiel. But I think we will see a lot more of Flensburg than we have. And I agree that maybe they don't have the obvious shooter from behind. But as Björn has already touched on, they have some other qualities and some other ways of playing that may be just as efficient. I can make a comparison to a team from my own country, Kolding, who have they have reached the last 16 of the Champions League for the past 3 years, and they didn't have a shooter from the distance, unless in the matches where Kim Andersson's shoulder was good enough, was okay enough to shoot, and they still got by. So there are other ways to get success in handball than we have to have those big shooters from 12 meters.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, I agree with what the boys are saying, but you know, you're looking at PSG, which is going to be a pretty big wall, and you're looking at Vesprem, which is a huge wall. I'm just saying it might be necessary, as Kim said, to lure them out. And by the way, in terms of Flensburg, that is not a seagull. I don't care what anybody says. That mascot is like not a seagull. I don't know what's going on with that whole thing, you know.
Well, you've created quite a campaign online for it.
I'm not giving up, Chris. I'm not giving up.
Maybe next year we'll have Foghorn Leghorn as the official mascot of Flensburg. So what do we say, guys? A tough last 16 match for Flensburg? Can they get to the quarterfinal?
Does anybody actually know what happens when it gets that far? You know, I mean, two plays the winner of the playoff of C and D, right?
Exactly.
And then 3 plays 6.
Mm-hmm.
So really, where you don't want to be is 4 and 5.
Yeah.
That's where you don't want to be.
So can they avoid 4?
Flensburg could be 4.
Okay. All right. Peter, you brought up KIF Kolding, and because Kim is here as well, another team close to Kim's heart. We actually have a question for you from Mariusi, saying, Kim, how's your shoulder, first of all?
It's good. It's really good.
Okay,
it's working out really well.
And what do you think about your replacement at KIF Kolding, Igopolo?
Of course, I think they have found a really good solution. I mean, it's a player who has really a lot of experience. I mean, he played in national with Russia for many years and also been in Berlin, played for Barcelona. I mean, it's a quality player who is not only a shooter, he's a goal-getter. He can score from strange angles sometimes, but he's also a player who plays with the team really well. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them yet. I hope to see them tomorrow when they play against the Kristianstad. But I'm sure, like Peter said before, it's a team that plays really good as a team, and we should not forget they have one of the biggest talents in the world in Lasse Andersson, who is also a player who could win a game by himself, but he has also had a lot of injuries the past time, but I think they look really sharp. They have started a little bit, maybe a little bit frosty. They lost the first game against Bjerringbro in the start of the league, but now they have won the last 2 games, and I'm sure with time they will be even better, because it's a team with a lot of experience, not the youngest players maybe, but really, like I said, experienced, and they will make a lot of problems for the other teams that will come to Denmark to try to take some points.
And Peter, they've been stuck in the last 16, it seems, for the last few years. Can they go any further this year, do you think?
I think that's a question of how fit the squad is and how fit the players still are. They are getting they've all gone 1 year older, and that of course is an issue when you're talking about players in their mid-30s or even in the last half of the 30s. We also have to realize that they actually have a less deeper squad this season than last year. They have got Ikopulu instead of Kim Andersson, but then Lasse Bosen has stopped his active career to become sports director. No replacement has been signed for him. So an already quite narrow squad has become even narrower now that they are facing a tougher program with more matches, as we've already talked about. So that's one thing. And another thing is the fact that they have already been quite severely hit by injury. When they won here last Saturday away against UP, they were actually missing 5 or 6 players. At least 2 of them are reported fit for tomorrow. The wingers Simon Jensen and Magnus Landin, but still they are missing experienced players such as Torsten Lahn on the line. The Landin more or less has to play alone on the left wing because the other left winger Martin Dolk is injured until Christmas or maybe for the entire season. Their substitute goalkeeper to Kasper Wiese, Marcus Cleverly, is out with a back injury. They've had to bring in 44-year-old Christian Asmussen. I haven't checked if he's actually the oldest player in the Champions League, but he will have to be close at least. So they are struggling a lot with injury, and that is of course at the worst possible time. As we've already mentioned, they are starting the Champions League group phase tomorrow away against Kristianstad, a team they should probably be able to win in order to proceed to the last 16. So at first I think it will be a question for Kolding to even be able to proceed to the last 16 before we start talking about the chance of getting even further.
Yeah, it's not easy in Group B. Benza, what are your thoughts on the group in general?
You mean Group B we're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I think Barcelona is a huge favorite in the group. There's no doubt about that. And although Tom said that Vardar is not the dark horse that most people think, I think they are. They actually are. And I tell you that be a little more personal. Last year, I started to watch Alexander Djerevin, you know, the Russian guy from Chelsea and excellent player. I mean, he was the best marksman of the entire group, maybe. If he had a better team behind him, he would have gone a little further than that. I mean, they pushed in the last spot. You know, Chelsea still have the strength to reach the Final Four again. I don't see a point why not. But the other places are hard to tell. You know, it's before not having seen any of the teams play, I couldn't venture a guess. But I think that it's not going to be the year for the German teams. So it's a brave guess. But do you want my predictions for?
Well, can we look beyond Barcelona for the top of the group, or are you coming up with a big surprise right now?
Not really. I'm sorry.
Chris, I really want to jump in here because somebody's after attributing something that I said that I never said. I think Vardar looks like one of the top teams for the Champions League this season. I think the squad looks trim in terms of they've gotten rid of Ratsfortsev, they've gotten rid of Chipurin, Petric and Pribac. They've kind of trimmed back their squad. They brought in, Vincent's already mentioned him, Djerevin, who I think is a brilliant player. And who bought Chitnikov? Was that Plotsk? He was also a great player on that Chekhov team. They've brought in Makeda, Manaskov, and Sindrich. I think they look really, really, really good, Vardar, this season. And I thought they were very unlucky last season. And I think that just players, because you don't know until you watch them play in the Champions League. But just looking at that team, I think they have a really good chance to come top 2, top 3, maybe better. Yeah. They look really strong.
Get the atmosphere to that in Skopje. Not a lot of teams will win a game in that atmosphere in the Skopje.
I just want to say one thing about them, though, Chris. They depended on Gorbach too much, and Gorbach is one of those players that can be brilliant one day and schoolyard rubbish the next, you know. So he really needs to be at the top of his game, because I presume Laskovic has come back from injury, but it's like Peter said, you know, when you're reaching those mid-30s, or like me, my mid-20s, you know, it gets harder. It gets harder to play, you know. Ask him.
I stopped counting after 20, so I'm still 20 plus.
But you know, I like Varder. I like the cut of their jib, Chris.
Bjorn, do you agree with Tom?
I agree. Definitely, I don't think that there's anybody saying that in this group Barcelona will not finally top it with their new 4 meters 19 tall defense of Zubchak and Koplia. So I absolutely agree with Tom that Varda will finish on the 2nd place, and then there is a struggle for the 3rd position between Kielce and Rhein-Neckar-Löwen. And in the end, when you see this group, one team will miss the last 16, which will definitely to go on. So I would guess Kristianstad is the underdog in this group, and then you have rather Kolding, Saget, or Montpellier. One of those 3 teams will miss the last 16. As I expected, Saget, for me, is definitely a candidate for going to the knockout stage.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Chris, on Kristianstad, because I think even their coach came out and sort of said in the interview that was on EHF TV, look, we have no chance. It's a learning experience, you know. I mean, they're a very young team. They're probably not even, although he said I thought this was interesting. He said we're training professionally, which must mean that they're not actually professionals, even though they're training twice a day. I was trying to figure out what he meant by that. But they could have a big bearing on the group, because one win for them at home could be the difference between somebody progressing and somebody going out.
Kim, you have
their home ground is very strong. We'll have to remember that. I'm sure Kim Andersson will confirm, will agree with me on this. Playing as an away team in a full Kristianstad arena, that's not a piece of cake for any team.
No, I just want to. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I haven't experienced it yet by myself, but I mean, I saw it last year, and I mean, they have an international arena with 5,000 orange-colored spectators, and it's not like I think maybe many of the teams will think that they will go to Sweden and just pick 2 points. That will not be the issue. I think they will have they are gonna have to fight for it, because like Tom said, it's a really young team, but it's still some players who wants to go the next step, and they want to show that they are capable of playing the international area or the arenas. So I mean, it will be really difficult for all the teams that will come to Sweden, and especially in an arena where you will see 5,000 orange-colored spectators. It's not that usual. So maybe they will get a color shock or something. But they have some really. I mean, they just got the guy from Veszprém, Jamali. I mean, he will be a really big boost for them. And now he has the chance to show his qualities. I mean, he has been many years in Veszprém, I think, and you never really heard of him. And he's a player who has already shown here in Sweden what he can do. And I think he has played on 50, maybe maximum 75%. So he has a lot of skills to show. And with a team who is playing as a team, I think they can surprise many teams.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep. Do you think they'll surprise KIF Kolding Copenhagen tomorrow in the opening game?
I think it will be a really tough game for Kolding Copenhagen tomorrow, because, like Peter said, it's a team with some injuries right now, and they are not starting with the full troop. So I mean, they're gonna go over and start the Champions League against Kristianstad, who has nothing to lose. Actually, they have everything to win, and they start at home. And like I said, it's a arena full of supporters who's cheering for their team. So it's maybe not Vardar Skopje arena, but it's still, you know, they want to try to get as many points as possible, and of course they're going to try to start tomorrow.
Absolutely. Tom, who do you think will miss out in Group B?
Oh, do you know, Chris? I have to say that this group is less obvious. I think for sure Kristianstad is in with the big boys, and they're not ready. Okay, so I think that they're gone. How many teams missed out? 2, is it?
2. Yeah.
Well, Montpellier's defence last season was shocking. I mean, it was porous, 30+ goals, but they're capable of scoring 30+ goals. If they can keep injury-free, they might do all right. Again, we saw last season were brilliant. I think, to be honest with you, Chris, I don't know. Like Brian Neckarleuven looked very strong this season. I think they look. I think Bayern has been a great buy for them. And this boy Appelgren, because I don't think Landé was brilliant last season. I think this boy Appelgren looks very handy in goal. I think he looks good. And so, if KIF have problems with injuries, I think they could be in trouble. They could be, but no one knows. This is a tough group.
Does anyone want to put their head in the chopping block? Give us a second name.
Montpellier.
You, Peter?
Montpellier.
Montpellier. Okay.
Yeah, Montpellier and Kristianstad.
Okay.
And I'm very sad on the fact that yes, Kolding is a wounded animal right now, but they are always deadly dangerous when they are wounded, and we have to bear in mind that enormous experience those players represent. They may be old, but they still know what it's about in this game, and they are always ready and they're there when the things are going to be decided. In the Champions League group phase, they're usually strong. So they may drop a bit in shape after New Year, and that has cost them the exit from the last 16 the previous 2 years, where they were actually seeded to go to the quarterfinals. But when the fun starts, when the group phases, they're usually there. So one should never be mistaken about Kolding. I don't say that only as a Dane. I also because that's really the way I feel about that team. They have shocked experts so many times by performing great results in the Champions League, and I would be surprised if they are knocked out already in the group phase.
I just want to say as well, I have had the chance to get to know the guys in Kolding Copenhagen, and I have met few people and players who are so professional as the guys. I mean, for example, Kasper Witt and Lars Jørgensen. It's maybe the 2 most professional handball players I have ever met. They know exactly how to prepare for a game. They know exactly what they need to do, and you know, it's. I have been playing many of the world best players in the last 10 years, but I have to say that Kolding Copenhagen has some of the guys who they know exactly what to do for the games. They know what tomorrow will be. They know what they need to prepare and to perform at top. Like Peter says, we had last year when I played, everyone was counting on us to go to the quarterfinals to eliminate Zagreb. We did 2 really bad games, and we were maybe not in that level that everyone was expecting from us. But tomorrow, I know that when they step in that arena, it's pure professional players, and Kristianstad, they have a young team, and if you see their opponents tomorrow, it will be a team who is going to pray for these 2 points, and they will do everything in their power to take them home to Denmark.
Chris, hang on a minute. Let me get my handkerchief out because I'm nearly crying after listening to that. You know, I'm wondering why Kim even left Kolding after all of that. You know,
I think he's trying to get back into the Champions League with his new team in Sweden. We may see you back next year, Kim.
Yeah, hopefully.
Chris, can I just say that why I think the Group B is interesting is that I think that all teams can take points off all other teams. If you look at Group A, you sort of see 4 or 5 really strong teams, and you see 3 teams that maybe have it. But in this Group B, I wouldn't be. It would amaze me if anybody can go through unbeaten. That would be the first thing. But the second thing is, it wouldn't amaze me if you could top this group losing 3 matches.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign of the new group phase as well. The new format is very possible. Guys, we've been going for 50 minutes almost, so I think I'm going to speed on and touch on Group C and D. Two main questions. Which two teams will get through, and can they impact on the last 16 at all? Bjorn?
My impression is that both teams from Group C will go on to the last 16. I expect that La Rioja and Brest will be the best teams in the Group C and D. From the Group D, it's open. 4 teams can make it to the 2 best spots, which mean they can play in the qualification matches like Bayamara, like Kadetten, and what else? Of course, Skjern. They were quite good last season. And Motor Zaporozhye, you never know. Their official goal of Motor Zaporozhye, as the manager said, is going to Cologne to the Final Four. Okay, we wait and see if it comes with a reality. But in general, I would say that Brest and La Rioja are the strongest teams in the 2 groups, and then they go to the last 16. But what can they expect them? They face the second-ranked teams in the other groups. So this is West Brom and Vardar, or West Brom and Kielce, for example. So I don't think that the 2 teams coming from Group C and D have any chance to get into the quarterfinals.
Chris, the only way that Zaporozhye are getting to the Final Four is if they go online and buy tickets right now. That's the only way they're getting there, you know. No, they have no chance. I mean, if they have any chance of getting out of Group D, I will eat my hat. I mean, this team last year, let's not go into it, right? I'm with Bjorn. Brest look a very, very strong team, and I would fancy them to top Group C. And based on last season's performance, I would say Natural House La Rioja. And then they will it'll be Kadetten and Skjern, I think, from the other group. And then I wouldn't like to beat Skjern, because they're a tough bunch of know-whats from Denmark, and they could do well. They'll miss Mulgar, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Peter, what do you think about Skjern?
If they still had Henrik Mølgaard, I would see them as obvious favorites to win Group B. However, he has been, so everybody knows, I think he has been loaned out to Paris just shortly before the start of the season. Skjern got an offer they couldn't refuse, and Mølgaard got an offer he couldn't refuse. And obviously that is a handicap to Skjern. They have got some very interesting new players. Bjarte Myhre, of course, is the most interesting new signing. Marcus Olsson from Sweden, Swedish international on left back, is also an interesting new player, and he's already done very well in several matches for Skjern. Magnus Dahl has joined, and the strong Norwegian goalkeeper has joined from Kristianstad together with Olsen to form a great goalkeeper duo with Søren Pedersen. But still, Mølgaard, who is a great two-way player who can play in the defense as well as in the attack equally well, he will be missed there. It's already obvious, I think, if you look closer on Skjern's performances, that he is missed. But as it is with the team they have, I still think they can play a part in the top of the group together with probably Kadetten. I see those teams as probably the strongest in a otherwise pretty close and pretty unpredictable group team.
Okay. Kim, what do you think? Do any of these teams have a chance to make an impact in the last 16? If the 2 winners can they threaten the 2 second-place teams?
No, I don't think so. When I'm looking at the squads, and I don't know all the transfers, but a little bit like Peter says, Skjern has an interesting team, but they are missing some how do you say it? The players like Mølgaard who can change the game plan, who can win the game for them. Right now they have a good team, and of course Bjarte Myhre is a really, really good line player, but he is also in need of some good players who can pass him the ball. He can't change the game alone, and I think that the teams in Group A and B is much too strong for C.
In one word, Benson, do you agree? Do these teams have any chance?
Some of these teams play.
Well, I asked for one word, and I think Spencer gave more than one word. We can't hear him anymore. Benza, we can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah. And now not anymore.
Move along, Chris. Move
Let's
along.
move along. Okay, we'll wrap it up soon. I just want to ask a couple more questions to you all. If you can name one young player to look out for this year, not necessarily a rookie, but someone who hasn't made a huge impact yet, who should we look out for this season, Bjorn?
Oh, this is a tough question. I would go for, I would not put a name in, but I just go for one of players of Zagreb, like they did last year, and one of them will improve, and maybe with him they can go to the quarterfinal again.
Mm-hmm. Kim, any young players? Anyone you had your eye on?
I'm a huge fan of my old teammate Lasse Andersson. He really made a big impact on me. So I think that it would be the surprise if he didn't go the next step this year. So he's a guy to watch out for.
Okay, Peter.
I also have a good eye on Lasse Andersson. He has had a lot of problems with his knees for quite some time. If he is finally past those, I think we can expect really a lot from him. He has already been working over here 2 years in succession in the Champions League, if I am not mistaken. And I wouldn't be really past him to make that once again. If he is finally fit, I agree with Kim that we can really expect a lot from this young lad. He has a lot of potential which we have not even seen yet.
Tomer Brannigan, have you been scouting this summer?
I have. I like to look at that guy Rasmussen that Keith Colding have signed. I mean, what is he? 44? He's young for a goalkeeper, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, he's very young for a goalkeeper. We have to remember he's 4 years older than Kasper Witt, actually.
That's right. And
Kasper Witt is the rookie among those two.
And when you look at Steiner Egge last year, Chris, 43 years of age, saves that penalty. Nearly turned the game for Kiel, didn't quite do it. No, I think that the young boy that I'd look out for is Sliskovic. I'm interested in his move to Veszprem, and I think that it was one of the big problems Veszprem had last year was who did we replace Ilic with, and I really like this boy. He was signed with Celje. Is he Croatian? I think he might be Croatian. I think
Croatian.
And he never got to Zagreb, which was really interesting, and then he was kind of out in the cold, and I've been keeping an eye on him for a couple of years now. I think he's a good player. And I think he will fit in beautifully with the way that Veszprem plays. So I'm going to, and of course Lasse Andersson, who we've seen he burst on the scene in Dunkirk to us match of the week a couple of years ago. He's a great player. But Sliskovic, I'm interested to see how he does at Veszprem.
More of here, right? Timo Schultz's contract runs out. You will see more of him this year. Not so much. Mainly. So can I take you?
Move on, Chris.
I think what he was saying is that you're right, Tom.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot one player.
Here we go.
We will see already in this Champions League season. It's the younger Dushebaev, Daniel, who's playing for Barcelona.
Yeah, good point. Before I go on to my last question, where we talk about the glitz and glamour of Cologne, just want to ask you, Kim Andersson, you're involved in the EHF Cup with your new Ystad. A nice win in the first round in Luxembourg, and you're off to the Ural Mountains in round 2. How does it feel to be in the EHF Cup?
It's okay. We have a really young team. Of course, I did this travel the first year in Copenhagen to Permsky Medvedi in the Ural Mountains. It's maybe not the nicest trip, but still it's experience for the young guys. We have a lot of youth national players who is on the start of their careers, and for them it's priceless to go on this journeys. I mean, I've been doing it for a decade now, and I know for a fact that you improve as a player when you get this chance. It's a big difference to go abroad and play in Europe than to play home in safe Sweden. So for them it's really a fantastic chance to learn to play international handball.
And you still enjoy it, even though how long is the journey going to be to Permsky Medvedi?
We don't know yet. It depends how much we can spend on this travel, and maybe we'll go half the world around to get to Paris. But we will see. But I enjoy it. It's still humble, you know, and I'm in it for the game, and I love it, and I love to be the old guy for the young players. So.
Don't forget a cap for the goalkeeper. I remember, Casper, we needed a cap because of the sound in the hall when you were there.
I've already told my goalkeepers that they have to bring a
priceless info.
Yeah. Apparently, the Apple Cart ride from the airport to the arena takes quite a long time. That's the only thing I tell you, Chris, Kim. You know, you have to get on that cart with the horse. Yeah. Chris, isn't it been brilliant having Kim Andersson on here? I mean, he brings such an interesting. I mean, normally it's Benza, and he doesn't say anything interesting at all. And we've got Kim, and he comes on and he gives us all this background. We should have him on all the time.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it so far, Kim. We've got one more tough question.
Sorry, Chris. I mean, imagine how much more money the sponsors are going to give Ystad now with his big sponsorship board behind them.
Any other players playing in the EHF Cup can mail us on media@eurohandball.com if they want to be involved in the next Hangout for sponsorship. Yeah, so last question, as we do at the start of every season, I want to hear your 4 teams that will qualify for the VELUX EHF Final 4 and your winner. I'm going to start with Bjorn, because Bjorn, you went last year and you called it perfectly, if I remember correctly. So what's your prediction this year? Oh, and he disappears. Peter, he ran away. Peter, let's start with you then.
Well, I was thinking of running away too, but no. Well, a lot depends, of course, on how the last 16, how the quarterfinals will be. Some favorites may knock each other out in those phases. I can't really see completely through that. But based on the obvious strengths as we see it now, based on the squads, that I would say that. Talking about the 4 teams for Cologne, we can't get around Barcelona. We never can do that. And obviously Paris and West Brom, where we have been praising them throughout this hangout, so we can hardly get past them either. Then there's a 4th team. It might be Vara, it might be Chelsea, and someone will say, "Hey, is there no German team going to Cologne?" Well, this might actually be the first year where we see a Final Four without German teams. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I don't think anyone can say that we will for sure see a German team in Cologne. So at least my 3 most safe predictions will be Barcelona, Paris, and West Brom, and then I will take the chance with Chelsea as the 4th team.
And your winner?
Barcelona.
Okay, Kim Andersson, what's your prediction?
I would just say Kiel, West Brom, Paris, and Barcelona. And I think that Paris will be the winner.
Okay. And seeing as Benza and Bjorn have disappeared, they've, I guess...
There's only Ball and Beautiful left.
So, Tom, you get the last word.
Yeah, well, quite right too, if you ask me. I think that the key to all of this, Chris, is that, and Kim will know as a professional player, you always have to build from a position of strength, right? And you ask yourself, has Kielce gotten any better than last year? The answer is no. They've gotten a year older. They haven't brought anybody in that really you say to yourself, this team is better. Same with Kiel. They've lost too many players and haven't replaced them. Although I agree with Kim, you never know with Kiel. They could just at that right moment. And then the other thing is, it could be 4 teams from Group A, right, Chris? Because once they go across, it could be, you just don't know. But what I'm going to say is that for sure Paris Saint-Germain will be there. I think for sure West Brom will be there. I'm not 100% sure about Barcelona this year. I know that sounds a bit dodgy. I'm going to say Flensburg might make it, and I'm going to say Werder. Werder, Flensburg, PSG, and West Brom.
Ooh. Very interesting. And how about a winner?
I think if Serdar Rusic gets everybody playing the way they should play, and it looks like in some of the pre-seasons I saw they look strong, with the two Caraboys in the centre block and that kind of telepathy they seem to have with each other, it's the French national team. And can you look past the French national team for anything at the moment? And the answer is no. So therefore, I'm going to go with Paris right now.
Is Bjorn coming back? No,
I'm coming back. My computer shut down by incident. Nobody knows why, but I'm back.
I think Bjorn did it on purpose so that he would get the last word instead of you, Tom.
Typical.
Sorry, maybe next time. Bjorn, your final four teams and a winner.
3 definitely is West-Brem, Paris, and Barcelona, and the 4th one is either Vardar, Kielce, Flensburg, or Kiel. So with the better chances this year, I would say for Flensburg. And unfortunately, I did not hear what all the rest said. The winner will be Paris.
Okay, well.
Nearly the same as me, Chris. Nearly the same as me.
Nearly the same, except he said that Barcelona cannot be overlooked while you threw them out in the quarterfinal, I think.
I did.
Well, we can. I think we can look back at this in a few weeks and update our predictions. But for now, thank you all. All of you came on today. Thank you to everyone who watched, and we'll be back in a few weeks with the next Hangout. So thank you, and enjoy the first round this weekend. And Tom O'Brien, you'll be doing Match of the Week this Saturday at Ryan Leuven against Barcelona, right?
Yeah, no one from Barcelona is going to talk to me after what I said tonight.
Of course not.
That's the nature of the game. Okay, so thanks, guys, and good night.
Thank you.